want Ben to give his testimony this morning. God has done a lot for Ben, and we just want him to share.
Good morning. I was here last year, actually. I love your church. I didn't talk a lot about my testimony last year when I was here, but it sort of has developed over the last year. I grew up in the 70s. I was born to a single mother. It was a very secular time. My household was very secular. It was a loving household, but it wasn't a disciplined household. I was brought up to just go with your emotions. Everything was based on feeling, and I was brought up in secular counseling, and that's what we were taught. Entering school, I was very charismatic as a child, and I was a very sensitive child. It just didn't mesh well in the small town that I grew up in. And right from the second I entered school, I was labeled as gay. As a 5-year-old boy, I was defending myself against this misnomer. I didn't even really know what it meant. I just knew that it was bad, and all throughout my entire school, I was bullied, I was teased, I was made fun of, even by teachers, by people in the community. I didn't even know really what was happening, but I just knew that it was just not good. In 9th grade, my parents moved me up to Grand Haven, Michigan, in part to get me away from just the horrible childhood that I had had and dealing with that. And we all gave our lives over to Christ. My parents had gotten remarried after a long divorce. They had my sister. We were going to church. It was just a really great time. I got baptized in the Holy Spirit. Things were wonderful. But I went off to college. I really wasn't truly rooted in the Word, in prayer. And I fell into the gay community. I was a theater major. That was my demographic. That's what I knew. These people welcomed me in. They accepted me. I'd never had that before in my life, and I thought, well, this is what I've needed. And after you're told something long enough, for 10, 15 years, I believed that's what I was. I tried to twist the Bible to make it fit for my life, but I never had true peace. I was never content in that lifestyle. Hence, the drugs came into play. Started out with marijuana, drinking at parties in college, and it developed into a full-on pill addiction. Throughout my 20s, I would try to come back to the Lord, and I would come home, I would go to church, I would get on fire for God, but the second I walked out of those doors, I was often running with those worldly temptations, sort of like the parable of the sower on rocky soil. And in my late 20s, I got involved in what would become a 9-year relationship. And I got a job in the airline industry as an international flight attendant. And to the world, it looked like I had everything. A relationship, a career, flying all over the world to these exotic places. We were bringing in so much money, we didn't know what to do with it. And I was living in big cities, New York, Philadelphia. My lifestyle was fully accepted there. But I never had peace. I was constantly being convicted by the Holy Spirit. And so my drug addiction just grew deeper and deeper. And I was taking upwards of 25 Dilaudid a day, on top of all different kinds of amphetamines, Xanax, you name it. I was just trying to numb whatever these feelings were. My mother was diagnosed with bone and lung cancer in 2009. And I thought, I'm going to take this opportunity to take a break from my life, from my relationship, from my career, and just come home and be with her. I was pulling out of my driveway a May morning of 2009, and I just heard this still, small voice say, "Ben, you're not coming back." And I got home to Michigan. It was prayed over me that I was brought home for a specific reason and purpose, and I thought at the time, well, it's just to be with my mom as she's dying of cancer. But, as my drug addiction progressed to levels that none of us could handle anymore, I had to make the heartbreaking decision to remove myself from my family. I was taking my mother's pain medication that she needed to deal with her bone cancer, and money from my parents. I was really breaking up the family. I was destroying things by the way I was living. And I walked away from my family for a year and a half, and I was roaming around this area, Grand Rapids, Grand Haven, homeless, addicted to drugs, hopping from couch to couch. It got to the point where even my drug addict friends didn't want to be a part of my life anymore. I ended up in jail one night. I cried out to God. I said, God, this is not the plan you had for me. This is not where my life was supposed to end up. And I called my sister. We had been friends with the McLeans for years. I'd known about Teen Challenge. And she's like, Ben, this is what we're going to do. We're going to pick you up from jail and we're going to drive you to Teen Challenge. That's it. And I was like, yes, that's it. I just had this instant peace. And that's what they did. And I walked through those doors, 18 months ago. I'm on staff now, actually. And God has truly transformed me by the renewing of my mind. I am not the same. I don't think the same. I don't act the same. He's amazing what he has done to my life. I was in prayer a few months ago, and I feel like I'm being called into evangelism in some area. God's really fine-tuning that in me, and I thought, you know what, the gay community is going to hate me for what I stand up for now. I had become so exceedingly bold in that community. I was standing up for gay rights. I was doing all of this stuff that I really, truly thought was right. And I thought, this community of people, they're going to hate me for what I stand up for. And God was so clear that night in prayer, and he said, Ben, you suffered so long for unrighteousness' sake. Maybe it's time that you stand up for righteousness' sake. So you know what? That's what I intend to do with my life from now on. Stand up for righteousness and just love people. You know, this community of people is hurting. They need the love of God. They need to just be shown the love and not just have the finger pointed and I'm telling them that they're just going to go to hell. You know, that's not what won me over to God. It was just people loving on me and just sharing the love of Christ. So thank you for hearing my testimony.
Thank you, Ben. Praise the Lord. God is faithful and God is good. Amen. People have many different vices in their life that enslave them, but thank God Jesus is the deliverer. Amen. I noticed we sang many songs this morning about deliverance. The word deliverance, it was in the songs. And I thank God for deliverance through Jesus Christ, salvation through the Lord. We're going to have Liz testify this morning. And I don't know, I may have her even share in the second service. Her testimony is just so powerful as to what Jesus Christ has done in her life. It's a miracle that she's even here today. So bless you, Liz. And Liz, please don't talk so fast that it zooms right over.
Okay, I'm really emotional right now, so I pray that y'all can bear with me through this. But I'm Liz. I'm 32. I'm from Birmingham, Alabama. And I grew up in just an amazing Christian home. You know, my parents always had me in church. But when I started going to college, I got a job at a pharmacy. And before I knew it, I was taking the pills that I was supposed to be selling. And I quickly became addicted to the drug Oxycontin. It's a very painful or strong pain medicine. And I would get so sick whenever I didn't have this medicine, but yet I would make myself get up and get out of bed every day to go get it. And it was just, I knew I shouldn't be living that life, but I didn't know how to, quit taking it. And my brother found out about a place called a methadone clinic, which is designed to slowly wean you off of this drug. But sure enough, I got addicted to that drug. And but while I was at the clinic, I met this guy, and we started dating and became engaged. And he seemed fine at first, just like any other guy. But the more I was around him, I realized that he had just a lot of mental problems, just very unstable. And so I broke the engagement off with him. And apparently he just got really angry at me for doing this. And I have no memory of anything that happened. But he called me over one night and said he was going to kill himself if I didn't come over. And so I went over there, and when I got there, he gave me a drink that had the drug GHB in it, and it caused me to pass out. And when it did, he suffocated me. And when he saw that I was no longer breathing, he called the paramedics and told them that I had overdosed to come get me, and he just left me there for dead. And the police got there, and they checked my vital signs. I wasn't breathing, and I had no heartbeat, and so they just pronounced me dead on arrival. And then the paramedics got there shortly after and immediately tried to start resuscitating me. And they continued trying for 20 minutes, but after 20 minutes, they were told by their supervisor to quit trying to resuscitate, because after going that long for, without having a heartbeat or without oxygen to your brain, that you'd be brain dead. that you can't survive that, and so they were told to stop. But they said they couldn't explain it. Something just came over them, and so they just continued working on me all the way to the hospital. My parents got a phone call at 5 o'clock in the morning telling them to come immediately to the emergency room. They weren't told why. They just were told to get down there. And nothing at that point had changed, and they told my parents that I had not survived. And my dad just fell on his face and just started praying out to God just to save me, to take his life and not my own. And I believe God honored that prayer, because after going 57 minutes and 37 seconds with no heartbeat at all and breaking all the bones in my chest and shocking me several times with a defibrillator, they were able to pick up a faint heartbeat. But 2 days later, I had a massive heart attack from the stress that it caused on my body, and I was on complete life support. And they told my parents that it was not, that I would not survive, that you just can't go that long without oxygen to your brain. If I did survive, that I would be in a permanent vegetative state for the rest of my life. And but they never quit praying for me. But after 2 weeks, they had to make the decision whether they were going to take me off the life support or not. And my brother stayed back, and he was holding my hand, and my parents had left actually to go pick out my casket that day. My brother was holding my hand, and he just begged me. He's like, if you can hear me do anything, just squeeze my hand. And I started squeezing his hand, and he ran and got the nurse, and the nurse said, no, unfortunately, that's an involuntary movement that your body does right before it dies. And she went back, and I did it again, and sure enough, I was starting to come to, and that was the beginning of me coming back. And but it was just a really long process. It took about 1.5 years, and I had to learn how to walk again and how to talk, how to read and write. I couldn't do anything on my own. For a long time, I had to walk with a walker. I couldn't even put one foot in front of the other. And but God is so good, and I was able to start school back again. But I was a senior when all of this happened, and I was a double major in Russian history and anthropology, and I tried to go right back to school where I'd left off, but my memory had been so greatly affected, I couldn't remember anything. And so I had to start back as a freshman, and I got really angry at God for why he was putting me through all of this. Instead of looking to him and being grateful for saving me, I got angry that I was having to struggle so much. And the doctors, it's weird the way that my brain rewired itself when all of this happened. I looked the same on the outside, but I had a totally different personality. I was a different person. The doctors had never experienced anything like this, and so they didn't know how to tell me, how to cope with something like this or explain to me what I was going through. And so I was just on my own with all of these new emotions, and the only way that I knew how to deal with them was to go right back to drugs, and that's what I did. And it was even worse than it was before. But then I also had all this guilt for what I was doing to God, because I knew he didn't save me for me just to be this hopeless drug addict. And so finally I cried out to him, and he brought me here, and I'm so grateful. But looking back on it, I don't know why he chose to save me, why he saves some people and why he doesn't. I don't have a clue why he chose to save me, but all I know is that I graduate in a couple of weeks, and I'm going to walk out those doors, and I'm going to live the rest of my life praising his name and giving him glory for what he's done in my life. Thank you.
Amen. Hallelujah. Amen. Still a miracle worker, folks. Jesus is still a miracle worker. This is Cindy. God bless you, Cindy.
Goodness. I like it when I get to go before her. She's my best friend, and I graduate Thursday, so I'm emotional anyway. My name's Cindy. I'm 35 years old. I'm from Gainesboro, Tennessee. Like Liz, I grew up in a very loving Christian home. I grew up knowing right from wrong. I knew God's word, but I didn't really have it in my heart. And like Ben said, I wasn't rooted in prayer. I had a praying family, though. I got married when I was 18, started my family, had 4 beautiful kids. And then in 2005, that marriage ended in divorce. We were just so young when we started our family, and it was too much. And so he left. This left me very depressed and bitter and angry. I didn't understand why. I had everything that I'd ever wanted, and then it was gone. And instead of turning to God and my loving family, I turned to prescription pills. It started with Oxycontin, Xanax, anything to take the pain away, to numb the way I was feeling. For the first few years, I thought I was a functioning addict. Looking back, I was not. From the outside looking in, as a single mom, I had it together. My children, they're athletic. They're in all these clubs. They're straight-A students. I thought that I had it together, but really, it was my family around me that was helping me hold it together. Finally, in last year, December, after stealing money from my parents and several attempts of them trying to get me help, I ended up in jail. And, thank God that I had a praying grandmother and praying parents who never quit praying for me. And, God heard their prayers. And finally, it took me going to jail and losing everything I had. My parents wouldn't speak to me. They were still praying for me. They wouldn't speak to me. My kids were disgusted with me. They really didn't even want anything to do with me. And when I came here to Teen Challenge, I thought that I had destroyed all those relationships. And I had so much guilt and so much shame for what I had done to my family and my kids. And finally, one day, one of the pastor's wives, she teaches one of our classes. And she said, Cindy, she said, if the God who created you has already forgiven you and forgot what you have done, who are you to keep bringing it up? Amen. And I was able to let it go, finally. And then I got my first letter from my kids. After 3 weeks, you can get mail. And the first line of every letter was that I was the greatest mother in the world. And they've been up here to see me. I've been home on my passes. My parents and my children are so proud of me. They're all, I was so hopeless and so broken. And now I know God has such an amazing plan for my life. I graduate on Thursday. And, I know that He's got my future in the palm of His hand, and I know that there is nothing that I'm going to face in my life that is too big that He cannot handle. I do not have to try to deal with it. I don't have to try to numb any pain. He's going to be there. He'll take away the pain, and I do not have to go back to that life that I was living anymore. Thank you.
I think we're going to go over here to Allie. Allie, bless you.
Hi. I'm nervous. My name's Allie. I'm 22, and I'm from Mount Hope, West Virginia. I've been in the program for 13 months. Growing up, I wasn't raised in a Christian home. My mom and dad were both addicted to drugs. For the first part of my childhood, I was raised with my two brothers by our mom, who was very abusive physically, mentally. By the age of 8, I got taken away from my mom and was shortly after adopted by my grandparents, which due to my previous home life and the things that I was exposed to as a little girl, just made me very angry inside and rebellious, which just made it difficult for them, in their old age to just take care of me properly. So I was placed into state's custody. This just caused a lot of confusion. By the age of 16, I was entering my 4th group home. At this point, I had pretty much lost hope of being with my family. I'd lost my mom, my dad, my brothers. I felt like, I'd lost everything that was important to me. Growing up, I always really struggled with not having my parents, like every kid or young girl, I really longed for a relationship with my mom, and it just left me feeling really empty growing up, and I just struggled with that. I kind of felt like, if my own mom and dad doesn't want me, why in the world is anyone else going to, and this just caused a lot of self-hatred. I didn't like myself. My goal in life was pretty much just to go unnoticed. A few weeks before my 17th birthday, I was released from state's custody and sent back home to live with my grandparents. Not long after, I got involved in a relationship, and through this, I got introduced to drugs. I had experimented before with marijuana and drinking occasionally, but it never really was bound by these drugs. But the first time I got high was the last time I remember being sober. I felt like I'd found my escape. By the age of 19, I was a full-blown IV user of Oxycontin and Dilaudid. This drug took over my life. But, nothing was ever good enough. I always had to get more and more and more. And this led to a crack addiction. By the age of 21, I was a full-blown crack addict. This drug consumed me. It pretty much took everything from me. It took what little part of me I had left away. I began living for this drug. I began doing things I thought I would never do for this drug. I just got to a point, I didn't know God. I never knew anything about the Lord. But I knew, there had to be more to life than this. And I found help at a crisis center in Tennessee, and the director there brought me here to Western Michigan Teen Challenge, and I walked through those doors a year ago broken and hopeless, about 35 pounds lighter, and God has just done an amazing work in my life. I can look in the mirror and I can like what I see. I came in here and I didn't know what love was. And I just remember coming in here, and the pastor here, he just loves us so much. And it's not like the love that the world offers. It's real godly love. And I'm just so thankful to God for the work he's doing in my life. And I just know he has a plan for me. And, I'm valuable in his eyes. And I'm worthy. And God is just doing so much. And the verse that I stand on is Psalms 27:10. And it says, even when my mother and my father abandon me, then the Lord will hold me close. And I stand on that verse because God's grace is so sufficient and he loves us. And that seed has just been sown in my heart, and I just want to give it back. I just want to give God the glory because God is just so good. And I know if he can do that in my life, he can do it in anyone's life. And I just love Jesus so much, and I just want to spend the rest of my life living for him.
Amen. Thank you, Ellie.
Good morning. My name is Tyler DeVries. I'm 22 years old. I'm from Holland, Michigan. I was born and raised in a nice Christian family. They brought me up and they showed me the way that I was supposed to go. And I lived that way for the majority of my life. I was, most people would say, on the straight and narrow path. All the way up to about the end of high school. My friends and most of the people around me start making plans for the future. I didn't really have any goals. I didn't really plan that far ahead in my life. And so I started applying for colleges. And by the grace of God, I got accepted at one, which I felt was like a really big accomplishment. I felt like I had graduated high school. I had made it, as far as I needed to go so far. And now that I'm going off to college, I feel really, really good. Looking back on the life that I had lived to this point, I felt like, there was one point in my life that I really didn't feel like I had reached the goal that I wanted, and that was my social life. I didn't feel like I had enough respect in the social scene. I felt like I needed to do something, and this was the summer before I was going to college, so this would be the time to do it. So I started, drinking, smoking, and pretty much anything and everything that would get more people around me and what I felt like I should do in order to get that spotlight on me. Started going to parties, started just living an immoral lifestyle. And I felt like I could just drop it all eventually, and it's just a phase that I'm going to go through, and then eventually I'll go off to college and it'll be behind me. But that wasn't how it worked out at all. It really grabbed hold of me and it just dug in deep, and I couldn't shake it. It consumed my life. As I went off to college, I went to class and everything for the first semester or so, and it just started consuming me more and more. It became like part of me, even. As I continued to look and try to fulfill these desires, I started more and more neglecting my academics and started failing classes, and I couldn't keep up. And I just felt like I was drowning. I felt like I couldn't keep my head above water. But I continued on, and I kept this all from my parents because I didn't feel like they needed to be burdened with my problems. I felt like they were mine. This is my opportunity to be independent, and I didn't want to let them down. Biggest mistake in my life was not letting them And I continued on, and I spent my whole year of college, and I just felt so defeated at the end. I couldn't believe I didn't succeed. It was like just a big blow to my self-esteem. And so I just spiraled into a huge depression, and I really just found my solace in drugs and alcohol. It just numbed my feelings of regret and my feelings of disappointment in myself. And so I continued on, and they ended up bringing me to a counselor just because of my mood shifts and stuff like that alcohol and drugs just bring on. The irritability, this just anger that was inside of me just kept coming out all the time. Anyway, so they said I was depressed and that I had trouble sleeping as well. So they gave me some antidepressants and some sleeping pills. And they said take one of these a day and it'll make you feel better and your moods will go back to normal. So I said, well, if one of these are supposed to make me feel good, then a whole bunch of these will make me feel really good. So I took a bunch of them, and that was a really bad decision because I overdosed and put myself in hospital. That was my first trip to the hospital. I made 2 in the next 3 years. And I also racked up some misdemeanors as well, hanging out with my friends and just doing, illegal things. And that ended up coming back to bite me because I ended up violating my probation, which ended up putting me in jail for 3 months. And that was really the time when God broke my legs, because I was running from him this whole time. I was just running from what he wanted for me. I was running from his plans for my life, and I didn't trust him. And I didn't really want to put my trust in him. But when I went to jail, he broke my legs, and he wouldn't let me run anymore. And, there's 2 things to do in jail, and one of them is read books, and the other one is eat. So I started reading a lot, and it was the first time I actually read my Bible. First time in like 3 years that I read my Bible, and it was astounding because I saw myself in it. It was like a mirror, as James says, and it showed me my true light. And I was so revealed, and so I saw myself in those pages. And I knew that this is a change that I need to make. This was the thing that I needed to do. And I didn't know how to do it though. And so I went back to my lifestyle. I lived that way for another month or 2. But it was amazing because God interceded in my life right at that time. And he showed me Teen Challenge. My parents said, Tyler, you need to go to Teen Challenge. You can't come back here and just start doing the same things you were doing. You got to make a change. And it was amazing because they showed me the tools that I needed to make that change. They showed me the tools that I needed in order to become that new person. They showed me the strength, the power of prayer, the power of reading your Bible, the power of studying too, and just applying it to your life in every way. And I'm just so thankful that they showed me these things because it's going to change me for the better. It's going to make me a better person, and it's going to make me successful as an individual. And I'm just so thankful for Teen Challenge and everything that they've done for me. Thank you for hearing my testimony.
This is Skylar, and God bless you as you share.
Hi, I'm Velma. I'm 40. I'm from Chicago, and I've been in the program for about 9 months. Growing up, I had 2 great parents. Put me through Catholic school, and I even did some college, but the whole time I was just very bored and didn't really know what I was good at, and just started hanging around the wrong crowd and started smoking and drinking really young. And when I was in college, I took a break to party full time, and things just got really bad. I started selling drugs, and then I ended up going to prison. And after that, it just became this just cycle of, partying and just living a lifestyle that was just immoral and dating the wrong guys. And I just, kept partying for my whole life. So I was so sick that I went to Las Vegas for even a bigger party. And I met this guy who is a pastor's son in Midland, Michigan. We had a daughter together. So we were in Vegas, and we moved back to Chicago, and we thought we could make it. And, we were going to his parents' church in Midland, and I always just, the people there were just so nice. They were so beautiful, and it just had such love and peace. And I was always wondering what they had, I want what they have. But I didn't know quite how to get it, and we were just we were just living a lie. We were doing drugs, and when you do drugs, it takes you farther. You think you can handle it, but you can't handle it. You hit rock bottom eventually. And that's what we did when we started using heroin. I mean, we had our daughter in places that we shouldn't have had her. It just got so bad, and I couldn't live. It wasn't about me anymore. I had a daughter to raise, and you know, I was offered. He started stealing and stuff, and he got sentenced to prison. And I told my sister, and we told his parents, you know, we have a problem. I could have went to rehab, but his ministry, his father's church, supports this ministry. So they were kind of always knew that we were going to come here. I was going to come here. And I just said, well, I need something bigger. I need something better. I'll go to Teen Challenge. You know, I'm not going to go to secular rehab. I need a change, and I need a good change. Something that's going to last. I want to be a good role model to my daughter. So when I came here, I didn't know what I was getting into. I'm 40, so Teen Challenge was Teen Challenge. You know, this program is really hard. It's not easy. You know, you're around 40 women, but it shows me so much about myself. And you know, you pray for patience, and you'll get like the most aggravated person in front of you. But it is just such a change. I have such a change, such a peace. That void that I was missing, I found it. I was running the streets and just didn't know. I was filling that void with drugs because I didn't know what it was. But when the Lord grabbed a hold of my heart, and I gave all that burden and that shame that I was carrying around for so long, because I lived so bad. I gave it to the Lord, and then it was just this lift, this liberty and this freedom, and you know, I was reborn. And I'm just so thankful that, you know, I could be a good role model to my daughter, and I have his parents. His parents are just, I'm so blessed to have him and his family, because they just are so supportive and encouraging. And you know, I have somewhere, when I'm done with this program, I can go to, you know, their church, and I have that stability and that foundation, and I just know my life is I'll never have to look back again. I just thank this program. It's really changed my life. Thank you.
Amber, yeah.
Hi, I'm Amber. I'm 20 years old, and I'm from Mishawaka, Indiana. I've been in the program for about 8 months now. I grew up with a really good childhood. I had awesome parents and a really loving family. They all were very supportive with, you know, school and sports, and I did really well in school. I got straight A's. I was in honors classes, played soccer and basketball, and I did well until about my junior year in high school. I was 16, and all my older cousins and my older sister, they just started partying. They all had dropped out of high school and turned to the party life and drugs. And I was the youngest one, you know, trying to make something of myself. And I felt a lot of pressure. So I became really depressed, and I turned to the party life. I turned to the same things they were doing. I started partying with them. And it just started out, you know, drinking and then smoking cigarettes, smoking marijuana. And, you know, I just started experimenting with all kinds of things, ecstasy, cocaine, just everything. And I was 17. It was about 2 weeks into my senior year, and I was about a month shy of 18, and I had no way of getting high. And I figured, you know, if all I care about is getting high, then, you know, what's the point of living? What's the point of my life if that's all I care about is drugs? So I attempted to kill myself. I was in the hospital for a few days, and then since I wasn't legally an adult yet, I was sent to a rehabilitation program for 7 days, and they let me out a day early for good behavior, which was just me saying all the right things at the right time to the right people. And I got out of there, and it didn't faze me, you know, that I had almost lost my life, and I just got worse. I became addicted to pain pills, and I started selling drugs. I dropped out of, or I'm sorry, I didn't drop out of high school. I graduated high school, but all my grades dropped, and I quit playing soccer and basketball. And I started IV using heroin, which really scared me. I really scared myself with this drug. I was just, the people I were around, and, you know, had been using this drug a lot longer than I had, and I knew that I just didn't want to end up like them. I just didn't want to go down that road. You know, I know where that road would lead me to go to that next level, and it really scared me. I was scared for my life, and I knew there had to be something better than that in life I was living. So I came to Teen Challenge, and I knew I had no money, and I knew that to go to Teen Challenge, I wouldn't have to have any money or pay anything. And I did not believe in God when I came into the program. I didn't believe in anything at all, and I definitely believe in God now. He's so awesome. I'm a different person. I've learned so much in this program, and I have such a great future now. You know, there's so much I can do with my life. I have no record. It's like my slate was like wiped totally clean, and I just have this future in front of me, and the Lord's on my side. And what's that verse? Romans 8:31. If the Lord is, the Lord is for us, and who can be against us? Well, the Lord's for me, so who can be against me? So, thank you.
Alrighty. I'm really nervous, and believe it or not, the only time I'm not loud or obnoxious is behind a microphone.
Use that microphone though. You're not being...
Oh, alright. My name's Amber, I'm 25, I'm from Wisconsin. Growing up, my parents were kids when they had kids. By the time they were 22, they had all four of us. My mom worked 2 or 3 jobs to keep our family going because my dad was in and out for a long time until I was like 18. And, you know, because my parents weren't really around, there was really some unfortunate things that happened to me and my sisters. And, you know, things that were supposed to be precious weren't very precious to me. And I figured if you gave it away, who could take it? And, you know, they moved us out to the country, and all you can do out there is drink and party and do drugs. So that's what I did. And, you know, religion was circumstantial. When things were good, we went to church. When things were bad, we didn't go. So I knew the Lord, you know, but I had a void, and I tried filling that void with everything. When I was almost 18, I got involved in a 5, almost 6-year relationship, and it blew up in my face 3 days before I was supposed to get married. So I started hanging out with some old friends that were using heroin, and everything else that I've ever done, I could do it, you know, and still work and live. This couldn't. It destroyed my life. I gave up everything. There's nothing I didn't do for this drug. You know, I was in and out of jail. I had a perfect record, and, you know, finally, last New Year's Eve of 2011, I got arrested, and I like to say by a fluke, but it was by God. I got released from jail, and my dad came and picked me up, and the whole way home I just cried, and I said, Dad, I can't do this anymore. And, you know, by this time my parents are, you know, saved and trying to live for the Lord, and we built this prayer area, and he doesn't say anything, and when we get home he takes me out to the prayer area, and he said, Amber, all I know how to tell you is you got to give this one to the Lord. He's the only one that can help you. So when I got home, I cried out to the Lord. I said, take it away or take me, because I can't do this anymore. 2 weeks later, I was here in Michigan. This was a big change. I had to be obedient, and I was very rebellious and everything else, but I can tell you one thing, the Lord has changed me, and all my peace and joy comes from the Lord. I've gone through so much in this program, and the things get harder, but it truly just gets easier because the Lord is my strength. You know, and I just love him so much, and I know with all my heart that if the Lord was never to do one more thing for me, I owe him my life. And I firmly believe that. And the scripture I stand on is Isaiah 40:31. But those who wait in the Lord, he shall renew their strength. They shall mount up with wings like eagles. They shall walk and not grow weary. They shall walk and not be faint. Thank you for hearing my testimony.
Thank you. This is Shannon. We still haven't covered our young lady down on the end. Go ahead, Shannon.
My name's Shannon. I'm 31 from Atlanta, Georgia, and I am a mother of the most precious little girl, and she is at home with my parents, and they're about the only stable thing that she's ever had, because I've had a 16-year addiction to drugs and alcohol, and just off and on. I grew up in church, had an awesome childhood. I knew the Lord, And I knew He had a calling on my life, but I got scared. And I started running, and I got this rebellious spirit. And about age 14, 15, just started. If He said it was wrong or said it wasn't supposed to be done, I was going to do it. And just started living the crazy life, drinking, started using drugs, and just it started out fun for a while, but eventually it takes over, and I just didn't know how to shake it. I wanted to, but then I just would feel so guilty and so ashamed of things I've done, and I'm like, God, how could you use someone like me? But oh my God, is so much bigger and so much stronger, and the blood that He shed, it covers everything and it washes it away. And it wasn't too long after I had walked out of the house, my parents had said, enough's enough, you gotta go. I was destroying my daughter's life, and just she shouldn't have to wake up and say, is Mom going to be here? Is she going to pick me up from school? I wasn't doing the things I needed to do because I was just lost and I couldn't find a way out. But so I had left, and that tug that's been there, that was always drawing me near, finally got strong enough, and I called my mom. I said, Mom, keep Kinsey up, I'm coming home. And I took my daughter downstairs and I said, listen, I need you to tell me exactly how you feel. And when she said the things that, that had been hurt, that all the times that she had been hurt, that little girl let me have it. You don't ask a 9-year-old what she thinks of her drug addict mom. But it really hit home. And I made a promise right then and there. We prayed, and I said, God, if there is a way, if you can do anything with my life, I'm giving it to you right now, and this is it. This is all I got. And I told my daughter, I said, this is the beginning of the rest of our lives. It's going to change, and somehow, some way, God's going to do it. And I put my trust in Him, and it wasn't 3 days later. I was at a Teen Challenge Crisis Center in Tennessee, and spent about a month there. I flew up here, and God has just totally changed my life. It's so amazing to just actually live out this relationship. Something that I was always scared of before. I still make mistakes, I still mess up, but I'm learning how to walk out my faith and my relationship with Him, and they're giving me the tools that I need, and it's just amazing when you actually finally let go and let God do what He wants to do and totally surrender. And I'm working on that. Not all the way there yet, but it's so amazing that, when we're down, that He's right there to catch us and pick us back up. And I thank God, and I give Him all the glory for what He's done in my life. And I'm just excited about how I'm going to be used. And I'm just learning how to love the Lord and love life. And it's just amazing. And I'm getting the relationships back with my daughter and my dad, who he hadn't been to church in 15 years, I'd say. Since I've been in the program, I've personally been to church with him 3 times. And so it's just amazing that when we actually surrender, the things that not only does in our lives, but just the lives around us, and just by seeing the change in my life, just the love and the peace that I have that I didn't have before, it's just amazing. And I thank God for it, and I thank y'all for donating and praying. Oh man, the prayers, they're much needed, and I thank you for that.
Amen. Thank you. We're going to do one more brief testimony, Sammy, okay? God bless you. And everybody will have given their testimony today. Go ahead, Sammy.
Hi, I'm Sammy. I'm 22 years old, and I'm from Johnstown, Pennsylvania. I grew up in a very loving Christian home. We went to a Baptist church. I was raised with all the right tools and support and love that I could have ever wanted. I accepted Jesus in my heart when I was 5 years old, and I purposed to live for Him through my whole childhood into high school, through high school. I was involved in my church, went on missions trips, was at church anytime I could be. Whenever I grew up in a really small town, so I always wanted to get out. After I graduated high school, I was gone. I wanted to start my life over. I wanted to just start everything new, have my own life, my own way. And my mom got a job at the university in Johnstown, and I was kind of bitter about it. I thought that I was stuck there, so I got pretty depressed. I told myself that I didn't have any friends. Even though I did, I started hanging out with the wrong people, and I started doing what they were doing. We were abusing prescription pain pills, and within a few months, I had failed out of college and lost my job. My parents had talked to me about my problem and tried to get me help, and I refused because I said that I didn't have a problem and that I could do it on my own. I had too much pride, and I went to, a few more months went by and I continued to do worse things. I eventually got involved with heroin and started IV using just a few times. By God's grace, He had His hand over me the whole time. He didn't let me hit rock bottom. He pulled me out of what should have been so much worse than it actually was. My parents had confronted me, and I made an agreement with them just to get them off my case to go to rehab, and I went to a secular rehab, and I left there before I even completed the program. I was just sick of it. I was done. I still wanted to do things my own way. And I went home, and my parents told me that I wasn't welcome there, that I couldn't stay there unless I agreed to go talk to my pastor the next morning. So I went to talk to my pastor, and they had previously mentioned Teen Challenge, and I was even more opposed to Teen Challenge than a secular rehab because it was a year long, and I didn't think I needed it. And my pastor somehow convinced me that this is where God wanted me to be, and I'm so happy that I actually listened to Him and that I came here, and I've been here for over 6 months now, and God's just transformed me. I'm a new person, and I'm just so thankful. I have a love for His Word, and I just want to live for Him, and I want to glorify Him in every way possible. And the verse I stand on is Romans 8:28, and we know that all things work together for good to them that love God, to them who are called according to His purpose. Thank you.